This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Do Go On. My name is Dave Warnicky and I'm sitting here with Jess Perkins and Matt Stewart.
Yeah, Jess Perkins first.
Oh, it must be back around on the other side of the rotation.
Exactly. I've done the maths, carried the millions of ones, and which is 1 million, and we are back around. It's going to be even from now on.
Well, I think technically that would be million of ones. So
Wow.
All right, well, it's going to be Jess first from forever now. for that correction. Jeez, I hope someone got fired for that blunder. Great to be here on the day, well, we're recording a couple of days in advance, but when this comes out, in Australia at least, if you're listening hot off the presses, it is Christmas Day.
Christmas
Merry
Day.
Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, as we like to say.
There's a Christmas tree in our studio now.
It's lovely. And is that a permanent addition, Matt?
Yes. That'll be here year round.
But we'll take the Christmas decorations off it and it will just be decorated for different times. It's just the podcast studio tree now.
Right, we just have an
New
indoor
Year's
garden.
tree.
Yeah.
Then it'll be the, what is it, the Boxing Day sales
Yeah, Australia Day tree.
tree. Yeah. You know, the list goes on.
Yeah.
Tree of life.
Tree of
Yeah,
life.
Tree Day tree. There's probably a tree day.
I had definitely had that in a share house. The Christmas tree was up until at least March.
Great.
No, probably longer actually, yeah.
So
But we took the decorations off, so it was just an indoor tree.
But you would excitedly put it up together, and then you're like, well, I'm not going to take
I'm
it
not
down.
taking it down.
Putting up it is the fun part.
Yeah, taking down is sad.
Putting
Like
up
so
it
many
is
things.
the fun part.
Thank you. Yeah. Sorry, a little Shakespearean there.
I love to put it up it. Put up it.
Most people listening probably will. They probably have just done Christmas and are listening later. So to you, I say, Happy Boxing Day,
Sales.
Happy New Year's Eve, Happy New Year's Day, and Happy 2020.
And happy Tree Day.
Happy
Tree
Tree
Day.
Whenever that is in
Jeez,
your
it comes
country.
around
Yeah,
so
well,
quickly, doesn't
My
it?
goodness, I can't believe it.
It's a big day in Lebanon.
Oh, yeah.
Tree Day.
Yeah, they love the tree. They put it on the flag.
Put on the bloody flag. They love it so much.
Was that a flag joke? Was that
There's
intended as a flag
yeah,
joke?
flag.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, it was, but what a happy coincidence it would have been otherwise.
No, so don't worry, I was with you there. I was with you. I knew you did it on purpose.
I'm just impressed because I don't know flags.
You don't know your Lebanese flags
I
from your
don't.
bloody other flags.
Name any
Name
country.
one other country.
One other country, man.
Iceberg. Wait, did you say name a lettuce?
Iceberg? All right, he's done it again. Well, it is great to be back. This is our first proper studio episode for a little while.
Yeah.
Is it the first since we've been back from the UK
Yeah.
and Ireland?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Now, it was the first one we've recorded back in Australia. We've been back for a bit over a week now.
We should also say first one since we're back from UK, Ireland and Scotland, just in case people are listening in the future after the vote.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
good point.
They are gearing up for that at the time of recording.
Okay, so we've been back for just over a week?
Just over 1
Just
week.
over a week.
Yeah, how are we feeling?
How's the jet lag? Are you done? Are you sorted? Are you
I
fixed?
think I'm really good because I went pretty much straight to a music festival.
yeah.
had a sleep, about 5 hours sleep. Then went to a music festival. My favourite, Meredith. It's the happiest time of year.
Like a
it's like my
camping.
Christmas.
And it's
Yeah.
a camping festival.
It is a camping
So
festival.
you're there roughing in a tent for a couple of nights.
Okay, a couple of mistakes I made. No cap for the lilo.
Okay.
So was it just a piece of
So
plastic on the
I
ground?
ended up sleeping on the ground. Yeah, flat plastic on the ground. Lilo's, is that universal? It's a blow-up mattress.
Airbed?
Airbed. And then, what else did I forgot that and one other. Oh, no, the other one didn't matter. I brought a pump that was plugged into the wall. So, I mean,
Were you looking around?
I didn't have a wall.
Were you looking around the field for a wall? Yeah. Excuse me, where's the wall?
I didn't
So I
have
real-
a wall.
I realised that first, and I'm like, great, I can't blow it up. And then realised, even if I could, I couldn't keep the air in.
So you slept on
lilo
the
anyway.
floor, on the ground,
On the floor. It's what they call the paddock.
the outside
Cow
ground.
floor.
So were your sleeps terrible? Let's be honest.
No, I slept okay but I think because I was so stimulated during the day with music and everything, it got me through the day and I was getting to sleep, around midnight, and I got home back on the sleep cycle.
Nice.
Yeah, so it actually worked out pretty well.
So
for me.
that's your tip for people, is to come back, go to a music festival, sleep on the ground,
Yes.
and then you'll be right.
Exactly.
Because I did not do that, and I struggled for the first few
You
days.
probably did. You have air in your bed?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you
that's a
believe
big
it?
no-no.
Too much air.
It's like Kramer when he gave Elaine a massage, and then she slept on a bed, and she's like, "My back, it's killing me." And Kramer's like, "Well, did you sleep on a plank of wood?" He's like, "No, you didn't say that." Well, obviously, your back's going to hurt now.
We were only away for 2 weeks, and in that time, I was no longer used to my bed. I had to get used to my bed all over again.
Wait, didn't you get a brand new
Yeah, it's
bed?
a fairly new bed.
Yeah,
before
so
that.
maybe I was still getting used to it.
Okay.
But I was like, I don't like it.
Oh, you got it before. For some reason, I thought you came home to a brand new bed.
No.
And you just lost your mind.
Like, it's so weird. My bed feels really different. Anyway, I was waking up at 5 a.m. for a few days, but now I'm normal.
You
normal.
are.
Well,
Yeah.
as normal as she can be.
Just normal.
Yeah, for
yeah,
you.
I'm
normal.
just normal. So a bit kooky. Anyway, so it's very nice to be back in the studio now with Christmas Tree. And I thought I'd do a report. What do you reckon?
I
I'd
think
love
that'd be
to
so
hear it.
good.
Should we explain first how the show works?
I could do that really quickly. if you
Great,
like.
go for it.
Between the three of us, three obvious friends and comedians, we each take it in turns. Fuck, I've already said too many words. To pick a topic, usually suggested by a listener. We research that topic and then tell it to the other two people who don't know what the topic is.
Yep.
And we normally get onto that topic with a question. Then the other two people are a bit annoying, especially to people who are listening just to hear the story.
Yeah.
And that's me and Matt this week. Very annoying.
Hey. Well, because this would be my final report that I'd be writing for the year, I put it to the Patreons with a bunch of second chances. So topics that had been voted on previously but hadn't won the vote. And it was still a pretty tight race, but they have...
They all came second again.
I was like, God damn it. So my question for you is, which World War II mission was an unofficial influence for the 1989 film Weekend at Bernie's?
Wait, what?
Wow. Okay. All right, let's go back to the top.
World War II mission,
Okay.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Right. So something about a dead...
You got to pretend someone's still alive?
Yeah. Wait, how long did the war go on for after Hitler killed himself? Was there some sort of a Weekend at Hitler's thing?
He was alive for 4 years.
The Nazis like, we can still hold on to this.
Yeah, that's right.
It's important we have our leader.
I wrote this question 10 minutes ago while you guys were chatting. Did you not see me chuckling to myself for a bit?
Yeah, but that's
very
pretty
normal.
That's true, actually.
A World War II mission where they had to pretend someone was still alive. I mean,
Operation...
Dumbo drop.
Not Operation Dumbo Drop.
Weekend at Bernie's. Operation Weekend at Bernie's.
Sadly, no.
Operation Floppy Joe.
It's maybe some sort of meat product,
Okay.
something you might do to beef.
Pork. I'd pork it all night long.
You can have you
Operation-
can have diced beef. You can have
Grilled.
Sliced.
Rump.
When they like
Barbecued.
make it all little tiny little
Minced.
bits. Yes.
Mincemeat.
Mincemeat.
Operation Mincemeat. I've heard of
Operation
this, I
Mincemeat.
reckon.
So have I.
What is it?
I'll tell you.
Oh, so there's some sort of a mincemeat man they're carrying around with a Hawaiian shirt on. I haven't seen Weekend at Bernie's, to be honest, but
Neither have I. I've never seen that film.
Either.
Wow, here we go. A lot of current references to that film coming at you.
And look, I don't think it was any influence at all, but I just found that pretty funny.
Oh,
So-
that is funny. That is funny stuff.
that's funny stuff.
So this Operation Mincemeat's been suggested by a bunch of people. Jess, Cameron Warnes, Riz Azaf, Tom McKenna, Meg Hartz, Lynn, and Victor Guillermo Di Manuel.
Oh,
Some fantastic
wow.
names.
Great
You really
names,
ordered
isn't
that with a big
One,
finish.
one pretty ordinary one, but I won't mention
Jess,
which.
you're saying Jess was
Oh, I was just making a joke. But you're right. Jess is pretty.
It's pretty ordinary. The name's pretty crap too. No, good on you.
Got them all.
Got them all. Got all those Jesses.
Cop that, Jesses.
So this is from history.com. It says, in April 1943, a decomposing corpse was discovered floating off the coast of Hulva. Fuck, should have looked that up.
That's so. You're what? 4 words
I
into
know.
the report.
I have looked
Oh
up.
fuck!
I've looked up pronunciations for so many words in this report and didn't do that one.
Give me a look at the word.
It's in southern Spain. You speak Spanish, Dave.
Welva.
Welva it is.
Welva.
Welva in southern Spain.
Vulva.
Sorry, yes, silent V.
Personal documents identified him as Major William Martin of Britain's Royal Marines, and he had a black attaché case chained to his wrist.
Did you look up attaché?
Yeah, it's just a briefcase. But I left it in there. Attaché.
That's a fun word.
It's fun. That's very James Bond and attaché
Oh.
case.
Yes. And there's a bit more James Bond stuff in this report too.
Really? Exploding pen.
When Nazi intelligence learned of the downed officer's briefcase, as well as concerted efforts made by the British to retrieve it, they did all they could to gain access. Though Spain was officially neutral in the conflict, much of its military was pro-German, and the Nazis were able to find an officer in Madrid to help them. In addition to other personal effects and official-looking documents, they found a letter from military authorities in London to a senior British officer in Tunisia, indicating that Allied armies were preparing to cross the Mediterranean from their positions in North Africa and attack German-held Greece and Sardinia.
You about
Really
to do a
said
hard
Geese. I was going to do a soft G.
not a hard G, but a soft R. Geese.
This intelligence coup for the Nazi spy network allowed Adolf Hitler to transfer German troops from France to Greece ahead of what is believed to be a massive enemy invasion. The only problem? It was all a hoax.
Ooh.
So look, a long intro there from history.com, but still
Sets the scene beautifully.
sets the scene. So 3.5 years earlier, in September of 1939, the Second World War had just begun, and Director of Naval Intelligence, Rear Admiral John Godfrey...
I mean,
You love
You
Rear
laugh
Admiral.
at
so
Rear
good. It
Admiral.
is so funny. It is so funny. It's like the highest rank, and then it's the funniest.
It's also
thing.
the highest form of comedy.
Yeah.
Rear
The word
Admiral.
Rear Admiral.
Oh, they said on The Simpsons, the dreaded Rear Admiral.
Yeah, what is
Some
that
sort of
mean?
wedgie type thing.
Oh, right.
So John Godfrey circulated a memo to the British officers. It was called the Trout Memo.
Oh,
And
trout's a great word.
Who took the trout from the fridge? That was my trout. I was saving it for my sandwiches.
I think it was more likely.
Trout
Could someone
sandwiches.
stop cooking trout in the microwave in the office? You're stinking up the whole place.
It's so gross.
I've heard that from a few different people. There's just their whole office is quietly annoyed by one guy who
Yeah.
microwaves trout in the.
Trout.
Of it, not trout, but
Tuna?
fish. I think
Yeah.
of it like from 2 or 3 different offices, and everyone's just quietly going, "Mate, I wish you'd just figure it out yourself." I'm not going to tell you, but that's stinking out the place.
Oh,
Yeah, the
Dave,
office I
you
work
did
at,
this.
there's a fish guy.
Oh,
I'll
not
tell you about
Is it
that.
you?
I am not the fish. Absolutely not. I don't think you should bring fish into a workplace whatsoever unless it is from the fish and chip shop.
That's 4. So which office at the project?
Yeah.
Oh, name names.
No, well, not. It hasn't happened in a while, I reckon. So maybe someone did say, "Hey, please stop microwaving."
Oh, he
fish."
read the Trout Memo.
Yeah, the trout.
Well, sadly, this Trout Memo was not about trout in the microwave, but it did compare the deception of an enemy in wartime to fly fishing. It reads, "The trout fisher casts patiently all day. He frequently changes his venue and his lures. If he's frightened of fish, he may give the water a rest for half an hour, but his main endeavour is incessant." The memo goes on to describe numerous ways that the enemy, like trout, may be fooled or lured in.
Oh my god, this is the kind of thing where you like just get to the orders. You're scanning through
Yeah.
it, going, "Oh my god, he's still
It's all
talking
these, it's
about
all these
fish."
metaphors. You're like, what do you mean?
We don't care that that's your hobby, Rear Admiral. Like, we don't
Yeah.
need to know that.
So it sounds like his mind's elsewhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
be fair,
running this war from a river somewhere.
The war had just started. Maybe didn't realise quite how big it was going to
Yeah.
be. You
At
know?
that point, they were still calling it a good year.
I reckon we could save this year.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Historian Ben McIntyre suggested that although the memo was published under Godfrey's name, it bore all the hallmarks of Godfrey's personal assistant, Lieutenant Commander Ian Fleming.
Who was famously a fly fisher.
And Ian Fleming.
Ian Fleming. Ian Fleming was
The Ian
his...
Fleming?
What?
The Ian Fleming.
Yes.
As in Christopher Lee's
Yes.
As
adopted
in
cousin.
The old captain of the New Zealand cricket team.
Yes.
Whoa.
Thinking of Stephen Fleming?
Yes.
Ian Fleming is in James Bond. Ian Fleming.
Yes.
Who
Fantastic.
we did an episode on.
Yes.
That's
I
right.
reckon
And we
at this
mentioned
time of year-
last week because he was Christopher Lee's adopted cousin.
Yes.
That's right. He comes up a bit.
He comes up a bit.
That's crazy. So he's the assistant to the dreaded Rear Admiral.
Yes. And this Trout Memo sort of feels a lot like his writing.
It feels if this was out today and it got leaked, it would go viral. People would be mocking it. It'd be talked about on your show, Dave, for sure, I reckon.
Big time.
I reckon Peter Hellier would make a funny out of it, which I think is really a big part of what you do.
That's entirely what he does.
Making the news cycle funny. Yeah, you get it. You get my job.
I really should ask you what you do someday.
So good how you have no idea.
Still, all these years later.
The Friday Funnies. I know you work all week to do that one Friday Funny.
Yep.
You and Peter Hellier do something together.
Friday funnies, Monday to Friday, except Pete doesn't work on a Friday, so it doesn't really... Anyway.
It's a complicated gig, but
Yeah.
I can't wait for you to explain it to me.
TV.
Maybe in a memo.
Yeah, Trout.
Can you send Matt a memo? So the memo contained a number of suggested schemes for their consideration for use against the Axis powers to lure U-boats and German surface ships towards minefields. Number 28 on the list was titled, A Suggestion, in brackets, not a very nice one. It was an idea to plant misleading papers on a corpse that would be found by the enemy. This wasn't a totally new idea. Deliberate planting of fake documents to be found by the enemy has been done before. In fact, it already had a name. It's called the Haversack Ruse.
Oh, yes.
It had been used by the British and others in the First and Second World Wars. Well, I mean, the Second World's only just started, but it's used
I
later.
reckon we've talked about it in previous reports. Others have used that tactic.
Yeah.
I think it's real smart because even if they are sus on it, they've still got to think about it, right? You're wasting
Yeah.
their time one way or the other.
For sure.
And maybe they go, we need to at least follow this up a little bit.
Yeah. And so...
Because it could be a double bluff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
So they've definitely used that a lot. In August of 1942, a corpse was placed in a blown-up scout car in a minefield facing the German 90th Light Division, and on the corpse was a map purportedly showing the locations of British minefields, and the Germans used the map, and their tanks were routed to an area of soft sand where they got bogged.
Holy shit, that's smart.
Yeah.
But there were no mines. So they avoided the mines.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, you got a positive spin. You need that.
Do
in a,
they?
In a war.
Okay.
Guys, we lost every tank, but none of them were exploded.
So...
I wonder if they could have done it so that they put the mines in inverted places. So you're avoiding them, but you're just driving straight into them.
I thought you were going to say that that's exactly what happened, but then sand, it's ingenious.
They just got bogged. So
Even
they're just
better.
stuck.
Victimless crime.
Yeah, just an annoying, about 6 hours of digging a tank out.
It's really annoying.
Why you laugh at them? Ha 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 ha!
And they're like, we still have guns, idiot. We can
Someone-
still shoot from the tank.
You get your mate with a Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
He'll pull you out.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't worry about it.
I got to show you a video of my brother four-wheel driving recently, and his car, completely vertical. It was. I watched it and thought, wow, my brother and I have different lives.
I've got
That's fun for him.
schoolmates. I've got to do that regularly, and they'll often post videos on Facebook, and I'm always like, this it kind of looks amazing, but also it just looks tedious.
Yeah,
You're basically being bogged for fun.
yeah. Remember when I parked that van well in the UK and we celebrated?
I was
We
about
hugged.
to say, I don't think you and your brother lead different lives at all. Now I've seen you park that van.
Yeah, but I told him about it, and he went, "Yeah, cool." So,
But he didn't see how tight it was. It was ridiculous. It was, honestly, most impressive thing I've ever seen.
That van was bigger than any Land Cruiser as well.
yeah, you're right.
Oh,
And I
so
did
by
have it
about
vertical at
50%,
one
I
point,
reckon.
but that was unrelated. That was an accident.
Do you see your brother's tiny car? Whatever, mate. We could all do that in a car that small.
Yeah, your zippy little number.
Come on, get a real car.
That's
What
a
is it, a
remote control
Barina?
car.
What is that? How many seats has it got? 5? Pff, how about 9?
Almost double, but not
Yeah,
quite.
for 3 people. It was stupid.
We had too much room.
Yeah,
the year before, not enough. This time, too much. Next year, just
We
right.
overcompensated for sure.
Anyway, so unrelated, another time in September of 1942, an aircraft flying from Britain to Gibraltar crashed, killing all on board, including Paymaster Lieutenant James Haddon Turner, who was a courier carrying top secret documents. In amongst his documents, which were genuine, by the way, this wasn't a setup, was a letter from the American Deputy Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force. There's lots of big words. To the British Governor and Commander-in-Chief in Gibraltar, telling him that General Dwight D. Eisenhower, the Supreme Commander, would be arriving on the 3rd of November. So Turner's body washed up on the beach and was recovered by the Spanish authorities. And the Spanish, because again they were neutral, they returned the body to the British. And the letter was still on the body, and technicians determined that the letter hadn't been opened. So it was a really close call for the British.
Right.
If they'd opened the letter, then they would have known that the big boss was coming on a certain date, and they could have attacked. So those were unrelated, but it sort of led for a little bit of inspiration, because a month after this plane crash, a British intelligence officer called Charles Chomley came up with his own version of the Trout Memo, but he gave it a code name, Trojan Horse.
Right. Trout fishing is a lot like a Trojan horse.
Also, Chomley spelt CholmondeleY.
Oh.
Chomley.
Chomley.
And that's not Chomondley.
I had to look it up. It's Chomley.
Where's he from? It sounds like a very English thing to do.
Yeah,
It's like
he's English.
Leicester is really Leicester or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Worcestershire is Worcestershire.
Yeah. They chop out syllables willy-nilly over there.
Yeah.
And then laugh at you. It's almost like they've set up a little bit of sand for you to
That's
get
right.
bogged in, and then they laugh at you.
Yeah.
We're
So-
Operation Mincemeat.
Yeah.
Oh, just a word of the wise out there. Never say debut in England.
Fucking hell.
People will laugh at you until they start punching you in the face.
Debut as opposed to debut. Yes, they're very similar sounding words.
I can't hear the difference.
I was semi-joking when I brought up, did you just laugh at him saying debut? Because I couldn't work out why they were laughing. And then they were like, yes. Oh, I was kidding.
They were not.
Yeah.
So Charles Chomley, he came up with Trojan Horse. And this is what he wrote. He said, a body is obtained from one of the London hospitals. The lungs are filled with water and documents are disposed in an inside pocket. The body is then dropped by a coastal command aircraft. On being found, the supposition in the enemy's mind may well be that one of our aircrafts has either been shot or forced down, and that this is one of their passengers. So a little bit about Chomley. He was a flight lieutenant in the Royal Air Force and was working with MI5. He was the secretary of the 20 Committee, an intelligence team in charge of double agents. And they'd originally turned down this idea as... They said it had potential, but it was unworkable. But the chairman of the committee, a guy called John Masterman...
Oh,
How's that spelled? Masterman Shearer?
Masterman.
Right.
Yeah, it's Masterman Shear, but I looked it up
Silent
and
shear.
so the shear is silent.
You fuckers.
He saw that there was a connection to the Navy and this idea, and so he assigned Ewan Montague as the naval representative to work with Chomley on this plan. Montague had a pretty unique and cool set of skills as well. In peacetime, he was a lawyer in King's Counsel, and during the war had been working under Godfrey, so Ian Fleming's boss, running a subdivision naval intelligence which handled counter-espionage. So now we've got two very intelligent men working together. And they had some help, of course. They were assisted by an MI6 representative, Major Frank Foley. Does that name ring a bell at all?
Frank Foley.
So he was sort of helping them examine the practicalities of the plan. So Frank Foley, just as a side note, he worked as a passport control officer in Berlin, which was a cover for his main duties as the head of the British Secret Intelligence Service, so MI6.
So he's the head.
And he's working undercover as a passport control officer. He used his role as passport control to bend the rules and helped thousands of Jewish families escape Nazi Germany. Wow. Some say tens of thousands.
Wow.
He's remembered as a British Schindler and has been recognised as British Hero of the Holocaust and as a Righteous Among the Nations, which is a big award from non-Jews who helped Jewish people.
That sounds like a report in itself ready to
Yeah.
go. Holy shit.
He sounds insane.
Yeah, that's obviously amazing. But I am also still surprised that the head of the intelligence would not be,
Yeah.
Yeah.
in
Maybe,
England, like, working behind a desk type thing.
maybe timeline-wise, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
he did
maybe
that
it was
earlier, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, like, wow,
Yeah.
what a guy.
I'd
Huge.
promote him. I'd
Yeah, I
promote him all the way
reckon
to the
too.
top.
Thousands and thousands of people.
And sorry, what is he's part of this mission?
Yeah, he's sort of overseeing it and helping them just with the practicalities of the plan. So they've got this guy helping them with the logistics, and they enlisted the help of a pathologist to find out what kind of body they needed and what factors they'd need to take into account to fool a Spanish pathologist when the body was recovered.
I got to translate it.
What are pathologists? Are they blood people? Or
Yeah.
they just take your blood?
Their pathology's blood,
Blood
but I don't know now, but back then they would have been the ones doing autopsies and stuff like that
Right.
too. So they got Sir Bernard Spilsbury, who's a very famous... Spilsbury?
This
Yeah,
has
that's-
been full of great names.
The names are
beautiful.
incredible.
I'm still like, normally Chelmsbury would be the best of the best, but
Spilsbury.
I think Spilsbury.
These names still exist. I just don't feel like you come across them as much.
Spilsbury? No.
They all sound so English to me.
Yeah.
Which, like, I mean, England is a very diverse place, but you know that sort of old school idea
Yeah.
of someone wearing tweed and stuff.
Hello, I'm Bernard Spilsbury.
Spilsbury, yep.
He was a very famous pathologist and worked on a number of famous murder cases in England. So they consulted him for a bit of help. And he told them that they didn't need to worry about filling the lungs with water because most people who die in air crash often die from shock, not drowning. So don't have to worry about filling their lungs with water.
Really?
You die more on the impact of the crash rather
Right.
than... Because
I
I
thought
suppose
you meant shock, like, oh no! I'm shocked.
I suppose you probably could and your heart stops.
Right.
A big enough shock, not like a boo, you know?
Yeah. Boo, you're falling from a plane.
Oh, God, I was having a sleep.
I'm shocked. So yeah, he said.
But my hiccups are cured.
He also added an interesting point. He said Spaniards, as Roman Catholics, were averse to post-mortems and did not hold them unless the cause of death was of great importance. So they probably won't check that thoroughly, basically. So if you just find an English soldier's body, they're not going to be too sus if you cover your bases in other ways. So he's like,
Right.
don't worry too much about it. Wild. So now they're feeling pretty confident because it's probably going to work better than they'd originally thought. But finding a body to use was going to be difficult.
Yeah, having someone put their hand up for something like this would be tough.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
All right, I'll
Like-
do it.
like
Fill my
I-
lungs.
Well, that guy's so confident that no, they won't bother checking. He's like, don't even use a body. I'll do it. I'll just,
Mincemeat.
Yeah, I'll just
go get a couple of pounds of mincemeat.
And a coconut for a head.
they won't check. Honestly, these guys are lazy.
Don't worry about it. It's hot there. They
Yeah, it's
don't. It
very
goes to
hot.
their head. So they need a body. So they spoke to the coroner for the Northern District of London, a guy called Bentley Purchase. That sounds like a drag name.
Well, that sounds like something that Shrewsbury would do on a weekend. One Bentley purchase, please.
So good, Bentley Purchase.
So who's Bentley? I've
He's
just
a
got-
coroner.
Oh my
He's a
God.
coroner
Sad
for
purchase.
Northern District of London. And he said, I should think bodies are the only commodities not in short supply at the moment, but even with bodies all over the place, each one has to be accounted for. So he said he'd look out for a suitable body, someone that didn't have family members claiming them. A couple of months later, in January of 1943, Purchase contacted them to say he'd found a corpse that would work for their plan. His name was, and it's a Welsh name, and I had to look it up, Glyndor. Glyndor Michael was a Welsh man who'd been living on the streets in
Glyndor, I
London.
like that.
But it's Glyndwr.
Cool. Glyndor. I've
Glyndor.
never heard. That's a great name.
Glyndor. Glyndor Michael. So yeah, he'd been living
Michael, bit bland, to be honest.
but as a
Started
surname,
so strong.
as a surname, bit of fun.
That's true.
You know, George Michael. That's fun.
You normally say, "Oh, this guy's got two first names," but I'm, Glyndor. I can't say for
we
sure.
don't know.
So maybe would you prefer if his name was Michael Glyndor?
Oh, now he sounds like a superhero.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's very good. He'd been living on the streets in London, and he'd died after eating rat poison.
Oh, I've told people so many times, don't do it. Not worth the risk.
But it
Stop
tastes
eating it.
so good.
I know it tastes good, but it is not worth the risk.
It's not.
Some people, most rats, and some people will die after doing that.
Yeah. So he learnt the hard way.
Especially if you're in some sort of, if Poirot's in the neighbourhood,
Oh, for
or
sure.
Mrs. Marple,
Just don't invite them round.
or the woman from who Murder, She Wrote.
Angela Lansbury.
Angela, if you see Angela around, certainly do not eat any food with rat poison in, especially if your husband is out to get you.
You should know if someone's out to get you. You should
Yeah.
get a vibe, I reckon.
Yeah.
If you think your husband's out to get you, he is. You
Yeah.
know?
I think that's probably true.
Yeah. If you get that vibe, that
Yeah.
sense.
I'm probably being silly. Anyway, he's offered to cook me dinner for the first time ever.
And I've just come into a lot of money.
oh, my life's really turning around.
Poirot's staying in the B&B next door. What are the chances?
I was about to leave my husband, and he would have got nothing. But now,
He's turning around. He's giving me a goodbye meal. He's taking it really well.
so yeah, they Glyndor had died from eating rat poison. Purchase said that the small amount of rat poison in the body system wouldn't be a problem, as it wouldn't be identified in a body that was supposed to have been floating in the sea for several days. They wouldn't even be looking for it. One problem Montague had was that Michael was very thin and sickly, obviously from living on the street and of not having access to food.
And having
Holy shit, he ate rat poison because he was hungry. I didn't really think about why he might have done it. I thought someone had killed him, like his wife or husband.
No, he was living on the street.
And rat poison's just out there. It's one of the only...
I read somewhere that it was like a paste that they'd put on bread.
Oh.
So...
Well, that feels like...
But yeah, so there was an accident. Others said he probably took his own life. Hard to know. But
Right.
the actual cause of death was a rat poison.
Paste. They actually, they've rebranded it now. It's called Marmite.
You don't have the balls to say that when we're in the UK, did you?
Nah, I pander. I pander when I'm over there. No, I would have said it. I would have said it to their faces. I reckon they normally have some pretty good comebacks over there.
Yeah, they sure do.
Got to check in and ask. So when we left the UK, you had the Marmite taken off of you.
Yeah.
And so through security, you can't take liquids, you can't take gels. Apparently, you can't take paste either.
Yeah. Well, that's how liquidy it is,
Yeah.
Marmite.
And
Not like a beautiful, thick, proper spread like Vegemite.
But the security guy packaged it up and said, "We can mail it to you if you pay for the postage."
And he gave me a tag, and I had completely forgotten about it until you mentioned it. Then I'll check that out. Yeah. So apparently I can look it up online, put in the code, and it'll say how much it'll cost. And he said it might be about £10, which feels probably about right for 2 jars of. I've no idea. Including, mailing from across the world.
I'm sure you can get Marmite here. I've seen it in
But the
shops.
Marmite you can get at shops is normally the New Zealand one.
Right, okay.
Which is it's a very different jar. But can you get the peanut, because I got peanut butter Marmite.
But also, the one time you had the option to have Marmite, you spread it and went, oh, yuck, and you didn't even eat it.
The consistency looks so bad.
I don't think you should pay that money.
Well, I also did that knowing I had a jar of it. I'm like, I'll do this under better. Like, it just made me feel queasy looking at
Right.
it. Because it was kind of runny. It took me by surprise. Now that I know that.
It was almost like a honey consistency.
Yeah.
Not really. That's stickier. Anyway,
Yeah, it didn't look good.
didn't look good.
But you'll never know now.
No. But, I still am confident it's worse than Vegemite. But I reckon it probably tastes something like Vegemite at the same time.
Do you think it's better
That's
or worse than rat poison?
I reckon a little better. But I think it's I find it fun to have, draw a line between things that are so close. I love Vegemite, but there's Marmite. I wouldn't throw it at my mum if she was on fire and only Marmite would put it out. I wouldn't.
God, you don't even care about your mum.
Yeah, that's how much I hate Marmite.
But it makes me not care about my mum.
Marmite burn. Marmite burn. Ma being another word for mum.
Got it. Ma might burn. Okay. Okay. Whew.
You said got it, and then I think you got
I
it.
didn't get it at all.
Got it. Oh.
If I say got it, we can move on.
I was like, I'm just trying to get back into the half of the sentence I was up to.
Rat poison.
Rat poison. So Montague had an issue with the body because it was very thin and
too
sickly.
thin.
He didn't think it would pass for a fit, healthy soldier, and it would raise suspicions when the body was found.
So they just draw abs on him.
Yeah.
Get the bick out.
This will sort it out.
It's all about contouring. Purchase said he doesn't have to look like an officer, only a staff officer. So a little desk jockey. They're not ripped, don't worry about it. So Purchase agreed to keep the body in a freezer at 4 degrees Celsius or 39 degrees Fahrenheit.
Keep it crisp.
Any colder in the flesh would freeze, and then it would be obvious, which would be obvious after the body had defrosted.
Yeah, it's like bread. You can freeze it once.
Yeah, you can't defrost and refreeze.
What happens if you refreeze? Never tried.
If it changes on a molecular scale, it just is a different thing all of a sudden.
It's like
Yeah, all of a sudden it's
monster
a
in a
shoe.
bag.
It's a shoe now.
Put it on your feet, fine. But don't try to eat
Don't
it.
try to eat
Is that
it.
how shoes are made?
Yes.
Wow.
They're bread frozen, defrosted, frozen shoes.
Even Vegemite couldn't make it better. Couldn't make it edible.
And different types of shoes are different types of bread.
Yeah.
Name a shoe.
Croc.
That's a cob loaf.
Chelsea boot.
That's a multi-seed Sienna. No, not Sienna. Vienna loaf.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, that's a delicious shoe.
It's delish.
What about a thong or a flip-flop?
Ah, that's your classic tip-top.
Oh, tip-top flip-flop.
Tip-top white? Yeah, tip-top flip-flop.
Etc., etc. And so on goes the list. Anyway, so he
Let's do 7 more.
he told so he's like, okay, I'll freeze the body, but he told Montague and Chomley that the body had to be used within 3 months, or it would have decomposed
Or
too
he'll lose his
badly.
warranty.
You spot on the body.
Well, I haven't told you that I used to work at a supermarket,
Oh God, where's this going?
and
We're talking about frozen bodies.
Frozen
that's all.
bodies.
Oh, okay. No, with it. But in the bakery, I noticed just from putting out bread one time, in fine print on a lot of the baked goods there, it says, or it used to say, "Thawed for your convenience." That's maybe my favourite ever spin.
We've done you a favour.
Legally, we have to tell you that this was frozen.
But
how do we sell this?
because how
positively?
annoying is it thawing bread?
Oh,
you
my
know?
God.
Oh, it takes forever.
But don't freeze it or it will turn into a shoe. It has been frozen before.
Anyway, so they've got 3 months, so they had to get to work fast. And this might be one of the best sentences I read. Montague selected the codename Mincemeat from a list of centrally held available possibilities. They had a list you could pick from, and Mincemeat was on it.
Man, I hope that was someone's job, just to write down possibilities.
Yeah,
And he's
'cause-
just going through the Rolodex. Oh, Mincemeat, that sounds pretty cool.
He's like looking around the room, happened to have the grocery list there. He's like, all right. Aircon. They definitely had that then.
Yeah.
Weird switch. What is that for, that little switch over there?
Don't touch it.
Christmas tree. Mincemeat. Ex-wife.
What are you doing here, Jenny?
You want me back?
But something I reckon, although I still don't know fully what this operation is, I reckon part of why people love it, and it seems to still be a popular thing to talk about, is the name. It's so good.
Yeah, that's why.
Operation Mincemeat is so good.
Yeah, and it just came from a list. I find that so funny.
I reckon you're right. It was a shopping list. Mincemeat, eggs.
Operation Marmite doesn't sound as good, does it?
No, that
Nah.
sounds gross.
It's not as good.
Pork texture. Little runnier than it should be.
So the plan was to place documents on the corpse and then float it off the coast of Spain, whose neutral government, nominally neutral, was known to cooperate with the German military. Montague and Chomley began to create a fictitious background and character for the body. They chose the name William Martin and gave him a rank of Captain, Acting Major, of the Royal Marines assigned to Combined Operation Headquarters. As a Royal Marine, Major Martin came under Admiralty authority and would be easy to ensure that all official inquiries and messages about his death would be routed to the Naval Intelligence Division, so they'd have word. Royal Marines also wore battle dress, which was easily obtained and came in standard sizes. So they're like, well, that'll be easier to get. The rank of acting major made him senior enough to be entrusted with sensitive documents, but not so prominent that anyone would expect to know him. So when they'd heard that this...
Right, he's not an A-list enemy.
Totally. Or that when, because they're keeping it secret, obviously, from the Germans, but also... like their own people too.
Right, so there's any spies, whatever, doing
Exactly.
a bit of digging. I haven't heard of this William Short. was his
Yeah,
name?
what's going on here? William Martin.
So I think that's why they've probably gone with a forgettable name as well.
And Martin,
Which they've just proved
Yeah,
there.
William Short. I've never heard of him.
I read that there was like heaps of Martins as well. So Martin was a really common surname, so it was just sort of, oh, okay, it's just another Martin. It wasn't a really weird name or...
And you said also the announcement of death is rooted through that naval stuff.
Yeah.
So if anyone did ask, there is a record. Oh, yeah, he's dead. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But they wanted William Martin to be more than just a soldier. They wanted to sell that he was definitely a real man.
They wanted him to be sponsored by Adidas.
So they added pocket litter things to paint a picture of a life he definitely lived and that was not made up by two men in a boardroom.
Okay.
What-
Unused condom. He's a virgin.
Musk lifesavers. He loved Musk.
Loved Musk.
Jeez, a vivid picture's being painted now.
Hated mint.
yeah. He's got a packet of mint that he's clearly crushed up. He doesn't want mint.
I hate mint. So they included a photograph from a made-up fiancée named Pam.
Oh, Pan, attractive, but not too attractive. Not out of his league.
Yeah, but it was actually just a picture of a clerk from MI5. Her name was Jean.
Sorry, Jane. Sorry about that. Didn't realise it was going to be a real person.
There was also 2 love letters from Pam that were included, as was a receipt for a diamond engagement ring costing £53.
That's funny.
Wow, but not the ring.
Not the
So
ring.
Has he... In their backstory, you reckon he's already proposed, or he's thinking about when he gets home?
Well, it says fiancé, so maybe they've already... Maybe she's got the ring, but
That
for
was
some reason he's still holding on to the receipt in case it doesn't work
Yeah,
out.
got to return it.
I've got 30 days, Pam,
So he's a tight-ass virgin who loves Musk.
I imagine he's just got lots of notes in there, just over-explaining everything.
Yeah.
It's like, today, quick note to remember, you are engaged, and your name is Martin. Or William.
Much love, William Martin, in brackets, maybe short. Can't remember.
In other brackets, definitely engaged. In other brackets, definitely real.
No, it's like, hey, mate, you just do you. Believe in yourself, Martin.
Believe in yourself,
You're a real
yes.
person.
Yes.
I believe in you because you're real.
If I die, definitely don't check my body for rat poison. Why would I come into contact with that? Anyway.
Bye!
I do like rat poison a little bit, so I ate a little bit. If anyone finds that that's for why.
Yeah, but I'm microdosing. There's no way I'll die from it.
Actually, I've built up a result to it.
So they also went to extremes to ensure that the letters would remain legible after they'd been immersed in seawater.
They carve them into stone.
No, Montague asked MI5 scientists to conduct tests on different inks to see which would last longest in water, and they provided him with a suitable list of popular and available ink brands.
Oh, MI5. It's much like Bond. You know, when he goes, you got anything exciting for me? And they go, yeah, here's a list of pen brands.
Yeah.
Go to the local news agency and pick one out.
We've got Bic, Biro, Papermate. Take your pick.
There are theories, and I think, and I didn't read heaps about this for this story, but like the character of M in James Bond, I think is partly based on Godfrey, his boss.
Oh.
So there's definitely a little bit of James Bond in
I
here.
thought when the way that started, you know, trying to come up with a kind of ink that would work underwater, I'm
Yeah.
like, that is cool, low-key Bond stuff.
Yeah,
But the result being, here's a list of brands of ink.
Big Pen should be fine. Should be right.
That's so funny.
So funny. So they just kept adding things, and I don't know how big his bag was, but
Pockets are so full.
he also had a book of stamps, a silver cross, and a St. Christopher's medallion, cigarettes, matches, a pencil stub, keys, and a receipt from a shop for a new T-shirt he'd just bought. To provide a date that Martin had been in London, ticket stubs from a London theatre show and a bill for 4 nights lodging at the Naval and Military Club were added. So he's got all these
Honestly,
receipts and
sort
somewhere
your pockets
to-
out, mate. It's like George Costanza. He's got...
This is true. Why is he carrying it all? I was thinking, why is he carrying all of this? And then I was like, oh, all of that's on my phone. Okay, this is pre-phones.
Is he keeping that for tax time? Is that
Yeah.
what the plan is? He's trying to claim the...
He's taking it with him on a mission. It's
In a plane. You're
In a
like, oh, I
plane.
better keep this theatre receipt.
And not in a bag. It's all in his pockets. But
Yeah.
I mean...
Maybe
yeah,
some. I think
does it get sus at some point? You know, would they have been
Is it too
worrying
much?
if they were... Yeah, it does feel like it's bordering on too much.
Well, don't
you know
worry,
those
they-
movies you watch and it's like all exposition at the start?
Yeah,
This feels like he's like that personified.
it's not even done. They're
Okay.
still working on it because they also made attempts because he needed some sort of like ID. He needed an ID card, so they tried to take a picture of him for the ID card, but it was a little too obvious that it was a corpse.
He's already dead.
They tried. They were like, "Well, we'll just take a photo of him." How? Anyway,
This is a real... I was going to say, this is a real guy. Just get one of his photos. But
But he wasn't a soldier, yeah. He was just
Wasn't a
homeless
soldier.
guy, yeah.
and he was living on the street, so
Yeah.
he possibly didn't have
a selfie with
a
him.
photo
No.
album or anything.
So Montague and Chomley then conducted a search for people who resembled him, and they found Captain Ronnie Reid, who worked for MI5, and he agreed to be photographed for the ID card.
Ronnie Reid.
Ronnie Reid.
How similar do you think he looked?
Oh, I mean,
What are the chances in their office there's someone that looks like him?
Well, I mean, it close enough.
Have you seen old photos? All people look the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's true. You look at your grandparents' photos and you're like, is that you?
And also, when they find a body, it'll probably already, I mean, it would have been decomposed. It's not going to look perfect.
Yeah, right.
So it just has to be passable.
I like the idea that it is just, they go, oh, geez, he's badly decomposed. Oh, no, here's his ID. That's just how he always looks. He probably just died now.
He might be alive, actually. I don't know. So it was amazing. So they've got a picture of Ronnie Reid wearing the Royal Marine uniform. They thought of everything. The ID passes looked too new for a soldier who'd been serving for a while. So they issued them as recent replacements.
Oh, yeah.
So that it was like, no, he lost them and he's just got new ones. Like, they've thought everything through.
Did he write that in a letter to his friends? I can't believe I lost my ID card again.
Lucky I got these replacements just the other day. And then Montague spent 3 weeks rubbing the passes on his trousers so they looked used.
3 weeks! Did he stop for 3?
No breaks, no rest. He never went to bed.
Yeah, he's like, come to bed.
Through the night.
No, I'm doing this
My country
for my
needs me.
country. He wore out 7 pairs of jeans. Just rubbing it.
So weird. They also needed a uniform. They needed it to look worn, well worn. So Chomley put on the uniform and just wore it around to break it in.
He wore it around just constantly rubbing.
He's just like doing weird movements just to loosen up those shoulders.
Yeah, doing the snake dance on the floor.
He's doing yoga in the suit. So the body's just about ready, and they need to sort some fake documents to fool the enemy. So Montague outlined 3 criteria for the document that would contain the details of the falsified plans to land in the Balkans. He said that the target should be casually but clearly identified, and that it should be an unofficial correspondence that would not normally be sent by diplomatic courier or encoded signal. So the main document basically was a personal letter from Lieutenant General Sir Archibald Nye. Archie Nye.
Lieutenant. That's a different...
Lieutenant General.
Oh, Lieutenant. Right. Because I haven't heard of some of these titles.
Yeah.
I would not have been surprised if there was another one.
Lieutenant.
Lieutenant.
Lieutenant General. He was the Vice Chief of the Imperial General Staff, and he had a deep knowledge of ongoing military operations. So the letter was from him to General Sir Harold Alexander, who was the commander of the Anglo-American 18th Army Group in Algeria and Tunisia under General Eisenhower. I don't understand any of this, and I do a lot of reports on World War II, and I don't get it. But anyway.
But basically, well, they're just trying to set up the
letter from 2 high-ups.
2 high-ups saying, hey, we're going to land in the Balkans.
Exactly, from one high-up to another. After several attempts at writing a fake letter, they kept coming up with things that didn't feel natural. So it was...
Love just
felt
brainstorming
really,
going on in this situation.
Oh, it doesn't feel like it's him.
No, just pacing around the boardroom going, no.
Again! They're scrunching up paper and throwing it. So it was suggested that Nye should just draw up the letter himself. Give him the criteria and he'll write a letter. So he did.
Do it in your voice, Nye.
Yeah. Here's what we need you to cover. But he did it, and the letter that Nye wrote was perfect, and it identified Greece as the target, but that was a dummy, as the real plan was to invade Sicily. Oh. There was a couple of other letters as well, one of which had a single black eyelash placed within it to check if the Germans or the Spanish had opened it, when it eventually made its way back to the British.
That is a super James Bond thing. There's one James Bond movie with Sean Connery where he gets a piece of hair and licks it and then puts it over a cupboard to see if someone's opened it.
Oh,
like sort of so it sticks against the it's a sliding door, and if they open it, he'll know.
Yeah.
So that is super James Bond shit.
Yeah. An eyelash. He's going to volunteer 1 eyelash. Don't try, Matt. Did you get one?
No.
Oh, ow.
The planning team first thought of having the handle of the suitcase clutched in the corpse's hand because they're like, well, rigor mortis, it'll stay there. But then they realised that the rigor would probably wear off and the briefcase would just drift away.
Oh, that'd suck.
That would suck because that's where all the documents are. So they therefore equipped him with a leather-covered chain like ones used by bank and jewellery couriers to secure anything from people grabbing them. So it has a chain that runs down the sleeve to the case. But then Montague thought it seemed unlikely that the Major would keep the bag secured to his wrist during a long flight. So they looped it around the belt of his trench coat. They're like, all right, think it through. You're not going to hold it the whole time, are you? Put it on your belt.
Right, so it's handcuffed essentially to his belt.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Because it does feel like there's a lot of real little red flags. But also, it's the kind of thing like, you know when you're always paranoid when you're playing a prank?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
planning a surprise party.
You're
like,
overthinking.
they're going to notice, oh no, of course they know. But no one else is thinking, oh, they've got a surprise party for me.
Exactly. Unless you're me, and then I'm thinking it every
All the
birthday and other special occasions.
And what's super likely to happen?
Like Tree Day?
Oh, God, I want a surprise True Day party so bad.
Coming up.
Probably.
So anyway, so the body and the documents are ready to go. Now, how do they get the body to where they need it to be? So it's supposed to look like it's a victim of an airplane crash, but it was decided that to try to simulate the accident at sea using flares and other devices could be too risky, too obvious. You're out in the open. They considered seaplanes and surface ships, but they were all too risky and too obvious to the enemy. So a submarine was chosen as the method delivering the corpse to the region.
That
Love
makes
it.
sense.
I love submarines. They don't make any sense. They're so dumb. They make sense in war, I guess. But the rest of the time, why do you need a submarine?
I know, I've been regretting getting one, to be honest.
What? You don't need one.
I know.
And you know what? You don't need two.
Yeah, well, after you get one, it looks weird.
Yeah, in the garage.
Two, you got a couple.
Yeah.
You got a pair.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, man.
Also, one time I had a few drinks after I went to my underwater lair. So I had to get an Uber boat home, a U-boat. And so then I'm like, oh, how do I get back? I don't want to pay for another Uber. It's already so far down the path of may as well just buy another submarine. So,
But then they were both down there.
yeah, well, I know. I'm not saying it's a perfect solution.
So you had to take a friend down to
Yeah, I had to.
drive
Because
the-
at first I tried to drive them both back at the same time, you know, just out the window of one. But that let all this water in.
Can one tow the other?
Where were you? Honestly, where were you?
Why don't you call me? You should always call me for these things. I'm
Yeah.
so smart.
Should have towed one.
I'm so smart when it comes to submarines.
I'm like, I'll tow one. But then I thought, well, a Land Cruiser doesn't work under the ground. It's in the name. But I didn't think, submarine.
Yeah, submarine.
Sub-tow sub.
Sub.
So they dropped him off in a sub. Please tell me they fired him out like a tornado.
That would be...
with a suitcase attached to his jacket. Vroom.
Oh, I'm so disappointed. That is not
Fire
what they
torpedo
did.
one.
That would have been so good. So that's their plan. They're like, we'll get a submarine. So they had a meeting on the 13th of April, 1943.
By the time this happened, the war has been over for 3 years. It's the longest process.
It's been going on for 6 months.
It took 3 weeks just to scratch an ID
I
card.
know, fucking hell. So the committee of the chief of staffs had a meeting and agreed that they thought the plan should proceed. And the committee informed Colonel John Bevan that he needed to obtain final approval from Winston Churchill. I was about to say surf shirt. That's a band. 2 days later, he met the Prime Minister, who was in bed wearing a dressing gown and smoking a cigar. And he warned Churchill that there were several aspects that could go wrong, including that the Spaniards might pass the corpse back to the British without the papers being read at all. Like,
Well, that would be nice, wouldn't it? You thanks.
Yeah.
thank you, but we really wanted you to
No,
do some
yeah.
spying.
No, we don't. No, just give it to someone else. Whatever.
So it could be for nothing or it could just completely fail. Who knows?
All that work, imagine that.
Yeah. But
You know how they had that guy wore the uniform for 3 weeks or something?
yeah.
Feels like surely they could have got a uniform off a soldier who'd just
Yep.
gone, here's a new suit for you. We'll take your old one. We'll replace him or something.
Yeah, that could have made sense too. But they got him a new one and wore it in. So anyway, John Bevans told Churchill, look, it might not work or they might just send him back without the papers being read. And Churchill replied that, in that case, we shall have to get the body back and give it another swim.
The Spanish people
Go
like,
again.
What?
Has this guy turned up again? Anyway, so in the early hours of 17th of April 1943, they were preparing the body of Glyndor Michael and dressing him as William Martin. But there was a last-minute problem. The corpse's feet had frozen. They
Cold
couldn't-
feet. Well, if he's getting nervous, then maybe we'll have to call the whole thing off.
They couldn't get his boots on him, so they had to use little heaters to defrost the feet enough so they could get the boots on. Probably look a bit sus if he didn't have shoes on when they found him. But they got his boots on. and he was placed in a specially made canister which was filled with 21 pounds or 9.5 kilos of dry ice and sealed up because that would keep the body preserved without refrigeration.
Right.
So the canister's placed in a van of an MI5 driver. His name was St. John Horsfall, who outside of the war was a champion race car driver.
Fuck yeah.
Horsefall.
Get him to drive our van.
And they did. So Cholmondeley and Montague went along with him, and as they drove through the night into West Scotland, where the canister was taken on board the submarine HMS Seraph. Seraph's commander was Lieutenant Bill Jewell. Another good name.
Every
Jewell,
name.
I know. He and his crew had previous special operations experience, and Jewell told his men that the canister contained a top-secret meteorological device. Did I nail that or what?
Yes.
That was going to be deployed near Spain. So even the crew on board didn't know what was happening. They was like, yeah, cool, whatever.
Whatever, we don't care. Why are you talking
why
about
are you
us?
asking? Come on.
Oh my God, can we go?
Don't care.
Talking about fly fishing and stuff. All right, whatever, mate.
Yeah, okay. I have to go drive the submarine now,
Yeah.
so shush, pretty shush.
Here comes Bill Jewell with another boring story.
So Seraph set sail on the 19th of April and arrived just off the coast of, how did we decide it was?
Welver or something like that?
Welver. 10 days later, on the 29th of April. Along that 10-day journey, the submarine had been bombed twice, but carried on. And at 4:15 a.m. on the 30th of April, Seraph surfaced. Jewell had the canister brought up onto the deck, then sent all of his crew below except the officers that were with him. They opened the container and lowered the body into the water. He read a prayer, apparently, and then ordered the engines full steam ahead, and the wash from the propellers pushed the corpse towards the shore. So sort of sent it off in the direction it needed to go.
Imagine if it got
They
sucked
chewed up.
Oh no.
So they also needed to get rid of the canister because, like, maybe that would look a little bit sus if they were captured or whatever. So they take it back onto the submarine. They travel for about 12 miles and then they resurfaced again and they put the empty canister. They pushed it into the water, and as it floated, they just shot it with machine guns trying to make it sink.
That's fun.
But it didn't work. So instead, they just used plastic explosives to blow it up.
Way less suspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, just going to blow something up. And then Jewell sent a message on to the higher-ups to say, mincemeat completed, and he continued on to Gibraltar. So the body of Major Martin was found at around 9:30 a.m. that day, so 5 hours later, by a local fisherman, and it was taken to the Spanish officials, and it was handed over to a naval judge, and a guy called Francis Hazelden, another good name. He was the British vice consul, and he was officially informed by the Spaniards of the discovery of an English soldier. He reported back to Admiralty that the body and briefcase had been found. Also, Francis Hazelden is totally in on this, and he knows. So there was a series of pre-scripted diplomatic cables back and forth between Hazelden and his superiors, which continued for several days. The British knew that these were being intercepted, and although they were encrypted, the Germans had broken the code, and the message played out the story that it was imperative that Hazelden retrieve the briefcase because it was important. So the Germans are like, oh my God, that briefcase has got important shit in it. But they know they're being intercepted. They're doing this on purpose.
I love that. Yeah, and still encrypting it. So you got to make it feel like it's a real find.
Exactly, because if you just went like, oh, get that briefcase, it's got good shit in it, they'd be like, that seems...
Too easy?
Yeah. So they're still encrypting
Don't let
it.
the Germans read what's in there.
Yeah.
They'd send the message in German.
Briefcase, important, get it.
Achtung!
A couple of days later, at midday on the 1st of May, an autopsy was undertaken on the body. And Francis Hazelden was president of the autopsy, and he wanted to ensure that the Spanish doctors didn't identify that this was in fact a 3-month-old corpse. So he said, look, it's hot today. This corpse stinks. Can we wrap this up and get out of here? It's lunchtime.
Yeah.
And they did.
Great.
They're like, mate,
This corpse stinks.
They're like, good point.
You're in the wrong gig.
this is music
Oh,
to our
yeah,
ears.
corpse, no.
Oh, come on.
But it is making me hungry.
You guys want lunch? Who's up for burgers? My shout. And it worked. They signed a death certificate for Major William Martin for asphyxiation through immersion in the sea, so he drowned, and the body was released by the Spanish. And as Major Martin, he was buried in the San Marcos section of a cemetery with full military honours the next day on May 2nd.
Fantastic. Is he still there?
Yes.
That
Oh,
is
wow.
pretty amazing.
With with the fake name on the tombstone and stuff?
Yeah, because I'll talk about it later, but this entire time they never revealed who he actually was.
Wow.
So only like Chomley and Montague and the coroner know. For a really long time. I'll talk about that at the end. So the Spanish Navy, they retained the briefcase, and despite pressure from the German intelligence agents, they refused to hand it over. But more and more, the German agents they're finding out more and more. They're like, this is really important. We have to have it. So it gets sent to Madrid, and Admiral Wilhelm Canaris, definitely pronounced wrong. He was the head of the German spies. Another word I can't pronounce, so German spies. He personally intervened and persuaded the Spanish to surrender the documents. So some of the Spanish authorities, they basically took photos of everything and sent it on. They didn't give them everything because they had to give that back to the British. So they removed the paper was still damp. They took it out and dried it. They took photos. Then they soaked it in salt water for 24 hours. I don't really know why.
Oh, what, to make it look like they hadn't dried it?
They had to like get it out with a cylinder kind of thing, and I really don't understand how it worked, but like basically they left the envelope sealed. It was sealed with wax and stuff. They got the letter out.
Oh, wow.
Another way. So yeah, they basically
At the back door.
Yeah, but
Do envelopes have back doors?
I assume so. So then they put the letter back in the envelope, but the eyelash is gone. So
But is the eyelash expected to last for like days and hours and?
I mean, they don't
seawater and
necessarily disintegrate, do they?
But
like,
it also feels
stay
like the kind of
attached.
thing that you'd be like, maybe just, I don't know.
Yeah,
It just falls off.
Yeah. But I guess if it's in there sealed,
we sticky
you
tape
would
it
find,
down.
Yeah, right.
So that's how you know. So then those photos and the information that was in the briefcase was passed on to the Germans on the 8th of May, and it was considered so important that some pretty high up spies took it to Germany themselves. And a few days later, the briefcase was returned to Hazelden by the Spanish authorities, and he forwarded it back to London. And the documents were forensically examined back in London, and the missing eyelash was noted. So they're like, okay, they opened it, we reckon. Further tests showed that the fibres in the paper had been damaged by folding more than once, which confirmed that the letters had been extracted and read. To allay any potential German fears that their activities had been discovered, another prearranged encrypted but breakable cable was sent to Hazelden stating that the envelopes had been examined and that they'd not been opened.
Right.
They knew they definitely had.
Jeez, that's smart.
And Hazelden even leaked the news to Spaniards, ones that he knew were sympathetic to the Germans.
He went to the pub.
He's like, well, so they didn't
I'll
got
pretend
away
to be
with that.
drunk
Whew.
I think I missed this. How long did it take for the body to be found? How long was it in the water before?
Like 5 hours.
Really?
It was later that day.
So they just put it in a spot they knew people were around. They would be around. Oh, because they pushed it towards the shore.
Yep, and it was found by a fisherman.
So and the tide would be coming in. Or
Yep,
whatever.
and they knew.
That feels like because it feels like there'd be a chance it might take ages.
Well,
but
they did heaps. Like, there was so many different potential spots that they were going to choose, and I don't think this was high up on their list originally. But then with the tides and a whole bunch of factors, they figured that it
So
would probably
smart.
work, and it did. But yeah, so they dropped him off at like 4:30 in the morning, and he was found at 9:30.
Amazing.
Ridiculous. But obviously the like having discovered it, it's a fairly decomposed body. They probably would have assumed it'd been in longer.
Yeah.
But
So which is also perfect.
exactly. So final proof that the Germans had been passed the information from the letters came not long after, on the 14th of May, when a German communication was decrypted, and the message, which had been sent 2 days previously, warned that the invasion was to be in Greece. So they're like, okay, they definitely think we're going to invade Greece. a message was sent by Brigadier
Oh, yes.
Leslie Hollis.
Oh, hello.
Brigadier Hollis.
Hello, Brigadier.
He sent a message to Churchill, who was in the United States at the time.
Still in his robe.
Still in his robe. Always in a robe.
Almost definitely with a cigar.
But the message read, mincemeat swallowed, rod, line and sinker by the right people. Hook, line and sinker, you dickhead. By the right people. And from
But that's like hook, line and sinker is a wild thing for a fish to have swallowed all of that. But the rod as well.
Rod.
They've really swallowed this. Imagine a fish is just... That's really selling it.
rod, line and sinker by the right people. And from the best information, they look like acting on it. So they're like, we fucking got him. Montague continued the deception to reinforce the existence of Major Martin and included his details in the published list of British casualties, which appeared in the Times on the 4th of June. It's a made-up person, but they've added him in there.
Great.
By coincidence, also published that day were the names of 2 other officers who had died when their plane was lost at sea, so it added credibility to his story. Somehow, by coincidence. By the end of June, German troop strength on Sardinia had been doubled to 10,000, with fighter aircrafts also based there as support. They moved 2 divisions to the Balkans from the Eastern Front. German torpedo boats were moved from Sicily to the Greek islands in preparation. There were 7 German divisions transferred to Greece, raising the number to 8. There was only 1 there. They put 7 other divisions in there. And there was, they just went really hard putting all of their people into Greece. And on the 9th of July, the Allies invaded Sicily in Operation Husky. Great operation too. For a considerable time after the initial invasion, Hitler was still convinced that the attack on the Balkans was imminent. So they were still taking people out of Sicily to Greece when Sicily was being invaded.
We can see them. They're right there. No.
This is just like a small invasion and they're going to hit harder here. They want us to...
Oh, no.
By the time...
thinking that was... Sicily was the decoy. Oh, wow.
They were thinking... Yeah, they're thinking Sicily's a decoy and it's going to be even bigger in Greece.
Amazing.
But it never was. And by the time the German high command realised the mistake, it was too late to make a difference.
Whoa.
So it was hugely successful. And Montague was appointed an officer of the Order of the British Empire in 1944 for his part in Operation Mincemeat, for masterminding the plan. Chomley was appointed a member of the Order in 1948. And, wrapping it up a little bit, a guy called Duff Cooper. Amazing.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm pretty sure his first name was actually Albert. Duff is way better.
But Albert's still great. Albert Duff Cooper.
Duff
All of
Cooper.
That. Cooper's a really good surname.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that's a great surname.
You do a lot with it.
Maybe it's because it was one of the key families from the OC.
Yes. And almost any name goes with it. You
Yes.
know? Except Cooper.
Cooper?
I reckon
Oh,
that'd be
actually,
Cooper.
Even still.
I love it.
Pooper Cooper.
Pooper Cooper. Oh,
Hanging with Mr. Cooper?
That'd be a cute dog name.
Yeah.
Pooper Cooper.
Pooper Cooper. Pooper Trooper.
Cooper did a pooper.
Is Cooper a character from Mario Brothers?
No.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. There's Bowser and Cooper.
No.
Jess is the gamer
I'm
of
the
trio,
gamer here.
Sorry. Right, write in and let us know. Because
No,
there
don't.
Is, there is definitely.
Fucking joking. Don't at me, you nerds. Duff Cooper.
Cooper Trooper Beach. That was the one.
Duff Cooper.
Oh my God, I forgot.
He was a former cabinet minister who'd been briefed on the operation in March of 1943, and he published the spy novel Operation Heartbreak
Oh.
in 1950.
Was that just a love story?
Who knows?
That's
It
beautiful.
contained the plot device of a corpse with papers naming him as William Marrington or something like that, being floated off the coast of Spain with false documents to deceive the Germans. So it was basically the Operation Mincemeat story. He stole it for his book. The British security services decided that the best response was to publish the story of Mincemeat. So over the course of a weekend, Montague wrote The Man Who Never Was. It was published in 1953, which sold 2 million copies and formed the basis for a 1956 film.
Fantastic. And I have a copy of that book because my dad gave it to me.
Do you really?
Yes.
Wow.
The Man Who Never Was. Because now
Have you read it?
I have not read the book.
Because that's this story.
You would know so much about this
and
story.
I was going to say, you've been playing it real cool.
No, I haven't read the book, but I still have the copy of the book because my dad was listening to late night talkback radio, and it was hosted by Steve Price, who sometimes appears on the project, which I work behind the scenes on.
Yeah.
And Steve Price was talking about the book, and he said, "I'd love to get a copy of it." So my dad was like, "Well, you sometimes might see Steve Price," and he gave it to me to give to Pricey, but I never had the courage to give it to him, so I still just have it myself.
You never had the courage to give it to him. He's famously an angry man, isn't he?
Yeah, and I don't really have much of a relationship.
He's a shock jock.
Yeah, and I work more with other members of the
I've interviewed
of the
him.
show.
Have you?
He was fairly pleasant to me.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, no,
I
he's
don't
a
like
friendly
him.
man, but I just don't know him super well. 'Cause I don't work with. He's
It's
not
his
in my department.
on-air personalities.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I've still got.
Wow.
And I think it's just a great title, The Man Who
It's
Never
so
Was.
good, yeah. So Montague wrote it. He had to obviously leave out some details, careful not to identify anybody whose identity needed protecting and all that. But like I said before, this entire time the real identity of the corpse remained a secret. It wasn't until 1996 that Roger Morgan, who's an amateur historian from London, uncovered evidence in the Public Records Office that the identity of the corpse was Glyndor Michael.
Wow.
So the Commonwealth War Graves Commission had taken responsibility for Major Martin's grave in 1977, but after the true identity was revealed, the commission added a postscript: Glyndor Michael served as Major William Martin. They added that in 1997.
Yeah, it's a weird play because it's like this. The real guy's been erased, but now they're saying he basically served in the army, just in body, if not mind.
So that grave is still there, and it has his actual name on it now.
Fantastic.
It's pretty crazy. It's a wild story, and I think they're making a film or something about it.
It feels like they've got to.
Colin Firth, I believe.
It sounds like a Firth.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Firthy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Operation Mincemeat.
Fantastic story.
Isn't that
Great
crazy?
story.
I reckon that's one of my favourite. We've done quite a few war stories. I think that might be maybe my favourite of them.
This just
Most
felt like
fascinating.
it should not have worked.
Yeah, just a lot of luck. I imagine they rolled the dice a lot, and a
Yeah.
lot of them wouldn't have come off.
Yeah, for sure. But this one did somehow, and it worked perfectly.
Yeah, because they went all in. It wasn't like Hitler was hedging his bets.
Yeah.
He said, "No, I fully trust this."
Totally. I'm not 100% confident on this, but I'm pretty sure it was like a pretty significant operation, like that
It helped
attack.
turn it.
Yeah,
Oh, I was wondering that.
I think so.
Do you know more about that, Dev? As a German descendant, do you have any?
What are you talking about?
Isn't Warnke a German name?
It is. Yeah, my great grandfather came out in 1900 to Australia.
Okay.
Maybe no, my great great grandfather. So well before World War One and Two.
It's just really.
Just to put that home there.
You've hit a sore spot there,
drill
Matt.
that home.
Get yourself
well
out of
over
this
a
one.
century.
But you're also a history buff. Would you know what was it a big one that turned the war? Jess is saying she thinks it is. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Do you?
Well, I think there's lots and lots of little
Because
things.
there's imagine.
There's so many. It's hard.
Yeah, that's because he made big mistakes, didn't he? Because it was the kind of thing that if Hitler made a few different decisions,
Yeah.
It was pretty
he had
close.
a strong hand at some point.
Yeah, Winston Churchill used to talk about the hinge of fate, about whether it would go one way or the other.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm pretty part of
Like
big part was
getting Russia offside.
Invading Russia during winter when they were, supposedly your ally was not a smart thing.
Right.
No one ever invades Russia in winter and
Japan
lives.
bombing Pearl Harbor is seen as another huge one, bringing America into the war. Maybe. Yeah, I'm fascinated by this stuff, but I always think, I wish I should go back and just really get stuck into the whole history. It's so.
It's
I mean,
so hard.
we must have done 10 episodes on little stories from the two world wars, and they're just all these little battles or people from around it. It's amazing how complex that. It's amazing how complex these world wars are.
God, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
That was man, I love that story.
I know.
It had everything. It's like, of course, this should be a movie.
yeah, definitely. And they have done other it's appeared in TV shows, and I think there was another film somewhere in there as well. There's a play that they do in Wales now about the early life of Glyndor Michael, kind of like a
Great.
reimagining. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, so
How he got his taste for rap.
I think there'll be a film out sometime soon, and it'll be another one of those situations where we do a report on something and then it's a film. That happens quite often.
It does.
We're very
feel like-
influential, yes.
Or our listeners pick stories that are so good that are always on their way to Hollywood. It does feel like that happens a lot. Like we do one and a movie's announced soon after that it's in development about the topic we've done. That was a great report. Thanks so much, Bopper.
Absolute pleasure.
I think it's funny that I mentioned at the start that Dave and I interrupt a bit, and I felt that today. We definitely did that.
No, just at bad times. When I was like, oh, there's a good line here. I'll start again. Nah, good on ya.
Well, that brings us to nearly everyone's favourite part of the show. I think some people listen for the report, but I think most people listen for the fact, the quote, or the question.
I believe that's true.
The way people can get involved in this is supporting us on our Patreon, which is patreon.com/dogoonpod. And one of the levels, which is called the Sydney Scheinberg Deluxe Rest in Peace Memorial level or something like that. And if you're on that level, you get to give me a fact, a quote, or a question. And I read it out for the first time on the show. And I'm going to do that right now.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Firstly, from Stephen Carter. He's given himself a title, which is another thing yet to do when you give us a fact, a quote, or a question. And Stephen Carter's given himself the title of Senior Vice Apprentice of Cherkassis. Cherkassis. Does that mean anything to you? Dave, do you mind looking that up?
How do I spell this?
Chur.
Chur.
Cuzzes.
Cherkassis.
Okay. And then his question is, while Dave's looking that up.
Chur.
Chur.
Cuzzes.
Yeah. Doesn't come up with anything. Could just be a little thing from his life.
Yeah, I don't, maybe I'll put into 2 words just in case not much is coming up.
Interesting. Well, his question is, if all the mascots of all NRL and all AFL teams were forced to fight to the death, who would win for each comp and who would win the grand final?
Who would win for each comp?
So, yeah, in the AFL...
Bombers. Right? The Bombers shit out of every other...
Titans.
Well, I think, the Bombers... The Bombers definitely take down all the animals, right?
Yeah, easily.
So you've got... Because you'd think of the
What about
animals...
demons?
Tigers are the biggest carnivore, aren't they, Dave? Land carnivore, is that right, Jess? I don't know why. I always ask Dave like he knows everything.
He does know
what about
everything.
polar bear?
That's not a mascot in either competition.
Yeah, but you're saying of
Okay,
land
great.
mammals. Sorry.
He's answering your question.
Of the AFL...
Yeah, because I was going to say people are going to write in and be like, what about the
sure.
polar bear?
So, but yeah, the Bombers are going to beat all them. Then who else you got? The Saints, my team. You'd think... but they're good.
But you got demons.
And then demons. I think both of those sort of are going to overpower a human-powered plane that drops bombs.
Yeah.
So Saints and demons feel like they're the top. Blues, of course. Depression.
What is a blue?
Depression.
Well, I don't know. The blues, having the blues. It's a musical style or it's a sadness.
Right, so you reckon the pilots will get the blues?
Yeah, I think blues defeats any of those.
Come for us all.
But I think it's Saints versus Demons. Who wins, I guess, from your perspective?
Demons.
Demons? Dave? Who wins that battle?
Say it again. Who?
Saints versus Demons.
Oh, sadly, it's demons.
All right. Well, you overrule me. I would have to say the Saints, but 2 demons. All right. So demons in the AFL. Then in the NRL, which again, you've got a lot of animals: rabbits, tigers, panthers. But then you've got storm.
Sharks.
Sharks
That's the only one I know.
They're great.
Is it a land fight or is it a...
If you're in water, they're going to win.
Yeah.
Big time.
On land, sharks are almost the first out. Storm is got to be pretty big.
Yeah.
So especially if you're like X-Men Storm. She's very powerful.
Especially if they're also abusing the salary cap. Boom! Rugby joke! Yes!
Sorry, league joke. Rugby fans.
Rugby
would be annoyed
league
by
joke? What, you don't call it rugby?
People will say, if you say rugby, that's rugby union, and people in the northern states will get annoyed at you.
No,
it's not rugby, it's league.
No, let me just tell those people, when I say rugby, I mean league. And when I say league, I mean rugby union. It's very confusing, but that's how we do it down here. So
no,
fuck
it's
off.
not, Dave.
Fuck off.
That's not how we do it.
But you're right, the Titans are the Gold Coast Titans. So can Titans beat Storm? How do you
They've
go?
got a 3 thing.
Yeah.
What have they got? A trident.
Trident.
Yes.
Yes.
So
there's the Raiders, which are Vikings, but they're just humans.
I'm going to say sharks.
So we're saying it's a water-based fight.
Yeah, and the Titans and the other ones can't swim.
Okay, so
sharks
I mean,
win.
my vote is absolutely with the Rabbitohs.
the Rabbitohs.
The
what does
rabbits
that
will
even
win.
mean?
The rabbits will win.
Yeah, because they'll just keep breeding.
They'll never die. They'll never stop.
We're humans try to take them down with meningococcus or whatever.
Myxomatosis.
Myxomatosis. What's meningococcus?
That's a disease we get as humans.
Yeah, that really backfired.
Yeah. Stop sharing drinks, rabbits. You might get meningococcal.
Okay, so we're saying
Sharks.
I think sharks are going to beat rabbits. I would have thought the storm.
No.
No, okay. So we're going to go. So,
A storm can't survive in the water. It just makes the water.
So
once it's water, then what?
who
Sharks.
wins out of a demon and a shark? then?
Sharks!
Sharks are beating demons?
It's in the water!
Demons can't swim.
Demons can't swim.
They're used to lava.
Our-
It's different.
You're just being... Because you know that our Prime Minister loves the sharks. Is that why you're saying the sharks? You're just trying to
No.
stain
They're sharkies.
Scott Morrison's good books.
Yeah.
Well, while he's having fun in Hawaii, you're here defending him? That's been big in the news this week,
Yeah.
if anyone's listening at the
This
time.
is
Our
going to be
Prime
very
Minister...
topical.
Australia's having awful fires, and it has not gone down well that our Prime Minister has left the country. Some people are like, let him have his family holiday, and other people are like, maybe cancel the holiday when your country's on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's expensive.
That's true.
Yeah, can't get refunds.
Hey, if you cancel a holiday within 2 weeks before you go, you're not getting anything.
We
back.
found out when we missed our flight from Dublin to Glasgow.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You miss one flight and they make you pay for another. I mean, what the hell?
I was honestly so impressed that we did not have a meltdown. We were all so calm.
I was telling a friend about that. We were all very nice about it.
It was fine.
We were great.
Oh, there's also the dragons.
Okay.
Dragons are beating a shark.
Shark.
Nah, dragons, surely.
Shark.
Dragons can't swim.
Put a dragon in the ocean.
Yeah.
And you got fire breath. Good fucking luck underwater.
Yeah,
Shark.
It's going to do shit.
Well, I feel like I'm not going to be able... Can I... And you're saying sharks beat demons?
Yes.
All right. Apparently sharks win. Jesus. Hopefully you're happy with that answer, sir. I like to call you Sir Stephen Carter.
Do you think Stephen Carter's from New Zealand? Because the only thing that came up for me is theculturetrip.com has 15 Kiwi slang words to help you speak like a local in New Zealand.
Oh, must be.
And one of them is cuzzy, as in, sure, cuzzy, which is things like, sure, cuzzy, this is a sign of affection, a significant verbalization of someone telling someone else they consider them a friend and an ally. Cuzzy is a little more colloquial than the more nationally used mate, but extends the same feeling of brother or sisterhood to the recipient.
I reckon
sure,
that's...
cuzzy.
I think that's definitely where... I'm guessing, because it...
I love it when people try to define slang. And they're like, it's like a brotherly, sisterly affection. It's like, it's just a slang word. Love it.
I reckon you're
like that a
spot
lot.
on. That's where he's from, I reckon.
Yeah, awesome. Well, there you go. I had never heard the phrase sure cuzzy before, but I like it.
I like it too. And also, Maximilian Duke has a question. He's given himself the title of Popper of Bubble Wrap, Consumer of Quazo, first of his name. Am I saying Quazo right there?
Yeah.
Queso. Good. And his question is, what's Queso?
Are you talking about, is it
Quazo.
queso?
Queso.
Cheese in Spanish?
Queso?
That is. Cheese in Spanish. Queso.
Oh, so he's a cheese eater. Okay.
Quazo. I love it. It's a great word.
Why do we say cheese like idiots?
We're such idiots.
Quazo, so much
English
better.
is a shit language.
All right. Well, the Captain Quazo asks, it's always bothered me. It's always bothered me that there were no teachers of normal academic subjects at Hogwarts. I mean, you're teaching children to mix complex magic potions with no basic instruction in math or science. The potential catastrophic results of giving an 11-year-old a flying broom without even an intro to Drive's education course are astounding. So let's fix it. What normal, in inverted commas, subject would you be the teacher of at Hogwarts? And what would have been your contribution to the final fight against Voldemort from the books/movies?
Podcasting 101.
Okay.
Welcome
The
to
doctor.
school. You need to know this stuff, guys. Someone's got to document this and put it out on the internet.
You're calling this a normal subject.
Yeah.
Right. That's fantastic.
Podcast 101. You're going to podcast about Voldemort's demise.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, you got to document it.
Of course.
What's that saying about those who write the history books are in charge of it?
Well, winners write the history book?
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Yeah. Winners record their history podcasts.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, great. I think that's a fantastic answer.
Also a little bit of jazz tap.
Jazz tab.
Adult contemporary dance.
I don't know if you fully understand normal, but
This was Dave's school experience.
Yeah. These are the subjects I did. So
I did jazz tap, obviously.
what about you, Boppa?
I'd be PE and health.
Oh, yeah.
None of those kids have any sex education.
Yeah.
I didn't at my Catholic school.
So you'd be getting the
but
bananas out.
I'll teach them.
All right, bananas at the ready. Oh, they could just use their wands. Condoms on
Put
wands.
a condom on a wand.
oh, that's good. No, this is
They
going to
poke
step
right
to the
through.
end. Oh my god.
Well, that's an important lesson.
yeah. Don't put it on your wand.
But also,
You dick.
I'd be making them run laps.
Yeah.
It's good for the endorphins. Good for mental health.
Do they do any exercise? Apart from
Quidditch?
broom stuff.
Brooming.
Brooming.
But-
Grooming.
Sweep
Don't
your
groom
room.
the kids.
But I like in the final battle. Yeah, they can all run away now. And also, then we'll talk about our feelings
Yes.
in a safe, healthy, constructive way.
Is it confusing?
Here we go.
In the world of magic, we have to get a regular broom, but not one that you fly on.
There are flying brooms and cleaning brooms.
Do they have those?
Oh.
Do they have clean? Yeah, but you have to say, "Can I get past the cleaning broom?" For example.
I think they refer to their flying brooms by their name. Past
Like-
the Nimbus 3000.
Pass Kevin, please.
I'm gonna say I'll just go off the subject I was best at school, which was English. You got to talk. I mean, that's a big part of it.
Yeah. Do they study Shakespeare or anything like that? There.
Because a lot of them have to go and like live in a normal world.
That's what I was wondering. I bet there'll be Harry Potter people who are probably maybe annoyed by this question because I've seen the movies,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't call myself a pothead.
Right.
I think that
Many would assume. Many would assume.
Many have assumed.
many have and do assume, but I'm not. I'm not a pothead. But I assume that the rest of the year when they're in Muggle land, they probably go to Muggle school.
No.
No, is that not right?
They don't.
No,
well,
you get sent home for Christmas, don't you?
but maybe like, but they all.
But they call it St. Schweigen's Day or something.
You go to Hogwarts when you're like 11 or 12. So what were you doing before then?
Right.
Were they in normal school?
Yeah,
Were
well,
they just
Harry
hanging
didn't-
around for 12 years?
Harry
Your
was
mum
under
can't
the
get anything
stairs.
done.
Wasn't
Harry
just
must have
under
gone
the
to
stairs?
school. He must
He
have gone
must
to
have
school.
gone to school.
Yeah, but the guy from Pie in the Sky didn't let him because he didn't like him very much. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. Well, I look forward to the tweets anyway from the potheads out there. Thank you so much, Maximilian Duke, long-term fact quote or questioner. Really do appreciate your support.
Lover of cheese.
And a lover of cheese. And I've started, now we do some shout outs for other patrons. If you're on maybe the DP Cooper level and above, is that right, Dave? I forget. One of the levels, you can see it in the description anyway. And we thank a few people from there. But what I've been doing lately is I've been going back through our system to find the ones we've missed over the years. And so some people have been waiting a long time. For instance, can I thank Isaac Smith, who we probably should have thanked about 2 years ago.
What?
And he's from Leeds in West Yorkshire. Thank you so much, Isaac.
I wonder if we met Isaac in Leeds.
Yeah.
Probably.
Or maybe he's so furious that we missed
How
thanking
about 2
him.
years? So sorry, Isaac. But
Well, it's
thank
just
you.
the sorting system on Patreon has been no good.
It's
It's
so
a
bad.
little bit like the sorting hat in Harry Potter, you know? It doesn't know what he's bloody talking about.
Stop trying to make people like you. Stop pandering.
Yes, I'm the sorting hat. Huh?
Shut the fuck up and read some names. I swear to God.
Are
Well,
we-
you've got to come up with a game.
Oh, yes, we're coming up with a game for these people.
oh,
I've jumped
I see.
right in to thank, but I have not. Oh, I need a game there.
We're naming their operation. We're giving them a code name.
Oh, Conan, not an operation they have to
Okay.
have, not like, knee reconstruction.
Yeah, no.
We were talking about footy teams before, and Isaac Smith is one of the champions of the Hawthorn Football Club. So could his be somehow related to the Hawks? Hawks are already
Something
a great.
Hawk, I reckon.
Yeah.
Something Hawk.
Black
Golden.
Hawk down.
Golden Hawk.
Golden Hawk.
That is good, Jess.
Oh, yes. Operation Golden Hawk.
Yes. Oh,
That's
my
so
God.
good.
You're picking that out of the Rolodex, aren't you?
Yeah.
In the meeting. Oh.
Should we go for Mincemeat or Golden Hawk?
Oh,
Golden.
Don't worry, there'll be enough. There's a few missions coming up. Don't worry. We can do them both. We
We'll
can
do it
them
all.
Thanks, Isaac. Sorry about the
Sorry
delay.
about the huge delay. And and similarly delayed. Actually, looking at it, it's probably only about 20 months, not 2 years. And also, I would love to thank from Detroit Rock City in Michigan. That's right, Detroit Rock City, Motown.
Yeah, that's what the people call it. Sorry, I was thinking.
I'd love to thank...
Dave, if you could follow his train of thought, please, with a little explanation.
I'd love to thank, with another fantastic name, Reed Totoris.
Oh, Reed Totoris.
Oh, Totor.
Totor, son, Totor.
Operation...
Jim
Membership.
I was going to say jam.
Jam membership.
No, Jim Jam.
Oh, Jim Jam.
No, it's got to be Operation Jam Membership. All right, we'll go with it.
I'm going to subscribe to jam.
It's one of those, every month you get a different jam.
I got a jam membership.
Yes, I love strawberry and raspberry, but marmalade, not my thing.
So we drop a body in the ocean, and in the pocket it has a 12-month supply of jam. All different flavours.
It gives him a real backstory. Who is this crazy Englishman?
What flavours?
Oh, you'd have strawberry, raspberry, blueberry, marmalade. Are you counting that as a jam?
Dave isn't.
I don't like it, but it counts. Fruits of the forest.
Oh, fruits of the forest, one of my favourites.
My mum and her siblings' favourite, plum and raspberry.
Ooh, never had it.
What
Sounds
about
good.
raspberry and plum the following month?
Yes.
Slightly higher ratio of raspberry.
Yeah.
Peanut butter
Peanut butter,
is a
Marmite
peanut jam,
peanut butter.
basically. Tell me the peanut butter isn't just peanut jam.
That's a good point. I hadn't really thought about it like that.
Honey, that's bee jam.
Bee jam.
Oh, I love my bee jam. I reckon that's about 12 anyway.
Thank you so much, Mr. Reed Totoris.
Jam membership.
Bopper, so we're just looking at these ones with no number there.
Great, okay. And I would love to thank from New York.
Oh.
Where?
New York, I said. Dave, honestly, you got headphones on, mate, and I'm yelling into a microphone. You should be able to hear me.
I'm listening to another podcast.
The greatest shitty in the world.
Greatest shitty.
That's so I'm trying to do an old, what was Big Red from David Letterman, the announcer? What was his name?
I know you're the big Letterman fan.
You're the
I'm
big
blanking.
red.
What was
Greatest
his
shitty.
fuck.
Do you think it was Jacob Sullivan?
Yes. No, but that is a great name as well.
Thank you,
Sullivan.
Jacob. Okay, all right. Dave.
Operation Kaleidoscope.
Ooh!
I like that a lot. That's so good, it's got to have already been a real one.
I like the word kaleidoscope.
It's a great word,
And I
isn't
also
it?
like kaleidoscopes. They're very pretty.
They're very nice to look at.
They're fun.
My dad, bringing
Oh,
up Martin
back to
Monaghan again, got a certificate from Guinness World Records because he was a primary school teacher and he would build all these things with the kids. Great primary school teacher, I've got to be honest. He went above and beyond every year. But he made these giant kaleidoscopes, and they were the biggest ones in the Southern Hemisphere.
Which is, for people who live in the Northern Hemisphere, you probably haven't heard this term, but it's one of my favourite things. We call things, we rate it on how big it is in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah, of course.
Which means we often, in Australia, can have the biggest things in the Southern Hemisphere.
Because we're the
Like, Melbourne has just built the tallest building in the Southern Hemisphere.
Can you believe it? Melbourne got it. We got it.
Chadstone claims to be the biggest shopping centre in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yep.
It's got a hotel now.
Cop that, Cape Town.
Yeah, Cape Town. Parts of Brazil south of the equator?
Yeah, parts of them, Argentina, Chile.
Yeah, so actually, there's a few big countries, but
So funny. It is something we do a lot.
Namibia and
a lot of ocean.
a lot of ocean. But still,
Antarctica.
I think the Guinness World Records were, nice enough to
awesome.
send him a certificate because
That's really nice.
it was still something. The grade fours was stoked with that.
Oh.
That is it is an amazing thing. I mean, even have the biggest thing in Melbourne is wild, but the biggest thing in all of Australia, New Zealand, and parts of Brazil, that is, it might be all of Brazil or none of Brazil. Anyway,
Very cute.
but I know
parts.
one of those countries is Ecuador, is the one that the equator splits, isn't it?
Goes
That would
through,
make
yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would. So thank you to Jacob. And I would also like to thank
Thank you so much, Jacob.
from... Are you all right?
I don't know, I'm losing it.
Look how much I go.
I'm trying to move on.
I've had a triple espresso.
Fuck, all right, that makes sense. I'd love to thank from Claremont in Western Australia, Ruth Gatt Lodding.
Oh, Ruth. Struth.
Struth root Gatlotting.
Gatlotting.
That is brilliant.
I think today has been the densest episode of great names.
Honestly, if you would have put them in a list, you'd be like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All right. Do you want me to do a mind meld
Yes.
with you? Okay. I'll do the first one, you do the second one without any gap in between. Okay? Dave, lead us in. You say operation, I'll say a word, Jess says a word,
great.
all within probably 2 seconds. I'm blanking my mind right now, blanking. It didn't actually happen real quickly. All right.
Operation
Dummy.
Operation Dummy Goon. I like it.
My brain was going to say Dumbo Drop. I can't not think Dumbo Drop, and I have to... Dummy Goon is
Dummy
great.
Goon.
So you're picturing a dummy, which is like an Australian pacifier, but filled with goon, which is Australian boxed wine.
Yes.
Wow.
I saw dummies advertised online that you can put little bits of fruit in and give that to your kid.
Start weaning them on to fruit early.
Yeah.
Also, fructus, great for those teeth developing. Just let it really soak in there.
Yeah.
Can we rot their teeth before they've even got them?
Thank you so much, Ruth. And I'm sorry.
Ruth, Operation... What dummy goon?
Dummy
Where
goon.
was she from? Is she from Australia?
She's from Western Australia.
Oh, well, she'll probably have had a dummy goon at some point.
Surely. It's part of our upbringing.
It's that and Emu Export. They're the two big drinks there, right?
A lot of people between the ages of 14 and 20 here will soak a dummy in goon, put it in their butt for a real quick alco buzz.
Goes straight in.
Now I don't want to tell my story.
What's yours? What's your story?
I used to, when I was a baby, I would... See?
No, you have to finish it now, otherwise my imagination will.
I would spit out the dummy a lot. So my mum used to put it in
Shit out the
honey.
dummy a lot.
Mum used to dip it in honey and then give it to me.
That'll
Similar
glue you
idea.
right up.
But I would suck all the honey off and spit it anyway. Kind of cute.
That is cute.
With my butt. I did it with my butt.
And your teeth survived it.
Yep.
You got good teeth.
Yeah, well, I had braces. Cost my parents a lot of money, these teeth.
Great.
But I didn't have to pay for it, so I don't care.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
If they're listening, which they always are, sucked in.
That thing about putting alcohol in the butt, that is something that
Yeah.
young people did do, soaking something and putting up their butt. Just drink it. Alcohol, there's such an obvious way to consume liquids.
Did people do that at your school?
No, I think this was one of those ones that got told in the news by people who were the wowsers.
Yeah, right.
The kids today, they're putting alcohol in the butt. They've lost control. They're pouring it right into their butts. But apparently that was a thing some people, but it does feel like you can drink, if you don't like the taste of it that much. But apparently, because there's a lot of blood vessels in your butt, so things
I don't want to
getting
talk about
shelving
butt anymore.
alcohol is such a funny idea.
Dave, do you have people to thank?
I'd like to thank
Drink in your
butt.
butt responsibly.
It's great advice. I would like to thank from Madison, West Virginia.
Oh, Mountain Mama.
I would like to thank Tyler Thompson.
Tyler
Tyler
Thompson.
Thompson. Also on the list of great names.
Tyler Thompson's been a patron for a long time now. We appreciate your
Thanks so much for your
support,
patience.
Tyler. And all right, we're going.
Do mind meld again?
All right, Matt, you say operation, I'll say the word, then Jess can bring
Why
it
do
home.
I have to go second?
It is the toughest position. I'm so sorry. Okay, here we go. Tyler Thompson. Let's talk.
Ready? Yeah. Tyler Thompson, who is in charge of Operation
Hook.
Leopard.
That's
Oh,
good.
That's real good.
Hook leopard.
Hook leopard.
Yes.
Yes.
Don't pander to me.
No,
Shut
I'm
up.
picturing-
Hook leopard. That sounds awesome.
Sounds like a
It's
band.
a leopard with 3 legs.
Yeah,
and one hook. Wow, hook leopard.
Pretty cool.
And the enemy will swallow it. Hook, line, and leopard.
Thank you so much, Tyler. I would also like to thank
Tyler Thompson.
Good
really
name.
great
Good
name.
stuff. Finally now, from Manly, New South Wales.
Home of the Sea Eagles. One of the first teams to be eliminated
Sorry
from
about
our
this.
all-out battle, I think. Sea Eagles.
Get out
You
of
just
here.
bring it with a chip with some Panadol and it's gone.
And to thank a man who needs and has no surname, James.
Oh,
James from Manly. We all know James from
I
Manly.
wonder if James, because there's a band called James who had a couple of big hits in the 90s. Do you think that's that James who sang Laid?
I can only assume yes.
I think it is, yeah.
I think it is.
All right,
obsessive.
now
So
I'm
can you
gonna
work
say-
laid into the title?
I'm going to say operation.
Yep.
You guys are going to
All
say.
right. Well, I know the word I'm saying.
Okay,
Go on.
So who's going first?
Matt, you go with your word.
Okay.
Okay, great.
You blanking?
Yeah.
James from Manly in charge of Operation.
Laid.
Chicken.
How did he come up with it? How does his mind work? The mind, it boggles.
He's a master.
His mission. How do you get this chicken laid? It's a new teen rom-com.
It's the 40-year-old virgin chicken.
Thank you so much,
This
James.
chicken's a real nerd.
Just no confidence in themselves,
Yeah.
That's all. Thank you
thanks
so
so
much
much.
to all of those
James from
people.
Manly.
All that leaves us is thanking a few people, welcoming them into the Triptych Club, which is for people who've been a patron in the $5 or above level who have made it for 3 years. And to this point, we've had, it's a pretty exclusive club, but welcoming into the club this week, may I introduce, clearly just double checking the dates. I don't think there is no one to be entered in.
Let's make up a name.
There's no one to be entered in this week.
I would like to
Make
welcome.
one up. Make one up.
Oh.
You say a name and I'll say a name.
Well, there are... Do we need to bring anyone in? Because, the
Just make up a
exclusivity
name.
of the club...
Gary.
Schindler.
Oh, okay, fantastic. A beautiful name. But I'm looking
Thank
here.
you, Gary.
There will be, next week, there are 3 inductees ready to go.
Well, that is
How
exciting.
cool.
We don't just put people in willy-nilly, apart from Gary Schindler.
And willy-nilly.
Willy-nilly. Obviously,
you.
Willie's been in.
Willy-nilly.
That is, oh man, we should wrap up because that is
Yeah,
fantastic.
can we go out on that laugh? Throw to a song.
And really, very, very funny.
In the edit, can we go out on it? Just play the
I
music.
never make you laugh.
You always make
This
me laugh.
is hugely exciting.
Both of you make me laugh more than probably anyone I know.
What about the time in the UK when I just appeared at the door in a towel?
That's funny. That's funny.
And it shocked me. I was shook. I was trying to write a report. Suddenly, I was like, "What the hell?" I
Killed your hiccups.
didn't say this at the start of the episode. This is also our final one for 2019.
Oh, goodbye 2019. You've been good to us.
Yeah.
Next week we'll be coming out on New Year's Day.
Oh my goodness.
It was. I know some people say not a great year, but to them I say whatever. It was good for podcasting.
I reckon for us, it's our best year yet.
It was huge. We did shows in Adelaide, Brisbane, Perth, Melbourne, Sydney, Thailand, and all over the UK.
And
And Dublin.
And Ireland.
And Scotland.
Yes,
That's
yes.
massive.
The most live shows we've ever done, the biggest crowds we've ever played to. Thank you so much. More people are listening to the show than ever. People are supporting us on Patreon. So for us, it's been, well, we're just loving it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. We put out the bonus episodes. So we did 52 pods. Then we did 24 Patreon episodes. Plus, did you miss a week for Primates? Did you do 52
No.
of those
Yeah,
as
I
well
did
by the end of the
52,
year?
yep.
I would have done, I missed one for Book Chat, so 23. So,
Wow.
man,
Listen Now's a new podcast we launched on the network, which has done a dozen or so episodes.
Insane.
It's been a big year for us.
Huge
yeah.
year.
So I just want to say thank you so much for the people that have listened.
And people who have had a tough year, the beautiful thing is it's about to end. 2020, I got a good feeling
Yes,
about
it sounds great.
Fresh.
it.
Sounds
It really does
great.
feel like it's going to be a good year.
Yeah.
We hope so. We hope you have a nice end of this year. Sorry to speak for you guys. I assume you think the same. And hopefully you have a beautiful start to next year, and we can't wait to see you then. Follow us on all the normal ways that do go on pod on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Gmail if you want to get in contact in a longer way. We got T-shirts and stuff online, which the shop's having a little break until the new year, but if you can still buy it, you just won't be sent out till early Jan. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave. I'd love to say thank you, Jess and David.
Thank you, Matt.
It's been
Thank
a real
you,
fun
Matt.
year
Thank
hanging
you,
out with you
Jess.
guys.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Stop it.
What a great team we have here.
I feel very lucky to get to do this
honestly,
podcast with you two.
It's hard to be sincere, but thank you guys so much. It's a real privilege.
I could probably say this off air, to be honest.
And
But I won't.
He won't. He won't. He will not.
He does not talk
He
to
will
us
not.
unless the microphone is on. But we're very good friends.
Yes, thanks again for another fantastic year. We will not be missing an episode. We'll be back the first day of 2020. I'm feeling good.
Oh, yeah.
But until then, I'll say thank you and goodbye.
Later.
Bye!
This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates. I mean, if you want. It's up to you.